Hello, you beautiful, lovely, gorgeous individual, to another exciting episode of Talking Sam. I'm your host, Sam Macias, and on today's Talking Sam, I am with one of the best YouTubers out there today. There's so many great out there, but he's one of the best of them. He is the one, he is the only. SoEverDream. Ever, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And I gotta say, I have to thank a mutual friend of ours, Moscow We Last React, who
Mhm.
put me on your radar. She did a kind of reactor reacting to videos, and I saw your videos on there, and I was like, huh, okay, I gotta. This guy's really cool. So I went from there, watching most of your videos when it
Mhm.
come to Rick and Morty, Avatar,
Yeah.
Owl House, Hazbin Hotels, and so much more. You got
Yeah.
a plethora of reactions on your channel, but you don't only do reactions. You
Right.
started off doing streaming. So before we get into everything on YouTube, let's start off with that. Before reacting, before you're doing reactions on YouTube, how are you, or even streaming as itself? How were you first introduced to content creating?
Yeah. It's something. So computers all the time came with Windows Movie Maker. So
Hmm.
I was always enjoying just putting together videos on there. But it wasn't until Achievement Hunter started getting really big in probably the early 2010s, where watching all their Let's Plays, I was like, I think me and my friends could probably do something like that. And we had actually started a YouTube channel that's now delisted and everything back when we were in
Uh,
college. Um, and so after that, though, everybody was busy, and I was like, I still kind of want to do it, but I just didn't have time for it.
mhm.
And so after I graduated college and I had some extra time, I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this again, this is probably going to be a really good time when I have all this extra time from not having school. So it's been in the making for, I guess, the last 15-ish years.
Okay, nice, nice. And when you were first going into it, creating content, on your first solo outing, you were doing streaming on Twitch back in
Hmm.
2019.
Yeah.
What was it about the platform itself that you weren't expecting at first when you were going to jump into that?
Yeah. I think a lot of my expectation of the platform was that it was like this big, giant thing where you weren't going to know anybody and people weren't going to know you or anything like that. Because when I really decided that I wanted to stream on Twitch, I was watching, it was mostly because of Fortnite, just like a ton of other people. I hadn't really used Twitch up until then. And I was just
Hmm.
watching a lot of Ninja and a lot of those bigger
Okay.
streamers you watch and you see them just playing the game, not doing much else. And my expectation was like, sure, I could probably play a game and not do much else other than that. But what really surprised me is that when I was doing games like City Skylines and other
Mhm.
simulator games, is that people love chatting and that
Okay.
there's like these really tight-knit communities within certain game categories, which I see a lot of or saw a lot of with City Skylines, and then RimWorld's a big one too, where it's like this really small community, but there's a lot of people that talk to each other in it. So it's really cool to see that on Twitch.
Nice. Nice. And with when you were watching those streamers, did you pick up on any of like their mannerisms, or how they do their stream, in which you were trying to incorporate their things into some of your stuff?
Yeah, there's been a lot of times where I've seen something that somebody else has done and I'm like, "Oh, that's really cool. I'd like to incorporate that." Like a lot of my channel
Mhm.
point redemptions that I have are based off of some other ones that I've seen, whether that's on Twitch or just through, browsing Twitter or something like that.
Right.
And, I try and take that and make it my own, but there's a lot of inspiration that has come from other people all throughout my channel, not just channel point redemptions.
Okay. Nice. And by the way you talk and the way you play your games, did you feel growing up being a gamer kind of give you the that okay feeling to go into Twitch and start playing the games that you want to play with, and not be not too uncomfortable, but comfortable with yourself, putting yourself out there for others to see and enjoy?
Yeah, I think growing up, it's a little bit different because you're not really thinking in that sense. When you're playing a game by yourself, you're not really talking out loud. You're consciously deciding and making those decisions. What's tough is doing that transition from thinking the things that you're going to do in the game to actually verbalizing that out loud for if people are watching you. And I was lucky enough when I started that I had told people IRL that I was going to start streaming. So
Mhm.
from day one, I already had, two or three people in there that were just IRL friends who were chatting to me and I was just verbalizing what I was actually doing. One of the big things, I had actually streamed Halo a couple of times because I had it in my head that I wanted to be an FPS streamer. And the way that I started out was I was just commentating on why I was moving in the direction that I was moving, and then
Hmm.
also like why I had chose different. I guess like explaining why I was like shooting the way I was shooting or like leading shots and stuff like that.
Okay, and as you mentioned the FPS streaming, was that are those kind of games the easier games to go to start off with Twitch, and then you migrate to other games, or it just depends on a personal preference?
Yeah, I think it's definitely personal preference. I didn't really stick with FPSs that long when I started
Hmm.
streaming on Twitch. I do it every now and then just as a
Okay.
fun, hey guys, like I play a lot of simulator games, but also I'm pretty okay at FPSs, so I like to do that every now and then. But I think it's such an oversaturated market that you have to have
Mm.
something unique going on there. Whether you're just doing crazy, wacky stuff on there or you're
Right.
just really, really good at the game. I think there has to be something there for people to want to come in there.
Okay, and how long would you say it took you to finally get the full swing of Twitch on yourself to finally be like, okay, I know what I need to hit, I know what games I'm playing, how many people are coming and going. Like, how long would you say was like the time frame from when you first started to where you hit that point?
I think realistically, you never really feel like you've hit that stride. You're always trying to chase something. I
Mm.
think where I felt comfortable though is maybe about a year after, but that's when I kind of sunk into playing a singular game or like one or two games. So I kind of had this pattern going on, but I think if you're doing more of a variety of stuff, you don't ever really feel like you've kind of hit that stride. You're just always chasing something.
Okay. All right. And with that, I see from there you sometime migrated from Twitch to YouTube, putting some of your streams there,
Mhm.
and then from there doing reactions. How did you first get introduced into reaction videos, and what was kind of like the video or the reactor that kind of like flipped the switch to you, and say, "Huh, okay, maybe I can do that." Like,
Yeah.
what was that instance?
My very good friend KL, she had
Hmm.
actually reacted to Star Wars because she had never seen it. And I
Okay.
saw that and I was like, I mean, I have all the equipment to do that. I've not seen a ton of stuff, so I feel like I could probably throw my hat into the bucket for that one. So or my name to the bucket for that one. So it was very much largely my friend KL, and then I have a couple other friends, Mikey Venture and Tiny Shark Reacts, that also kind of pushed me towards doing it.
And well, quick shout out to all KL, Mikey Venture, Tiny Shark. Make sure you guys follow them and support them as well as SoEverDream. Uh, on your channel, as
Mm.
I do my research and everything, for your reactions, the first reaction video I saw was Rick and Morty.
Mhm.
Did you feel like Rick and Morty was the right video for you to start off? Or did you, again, was it a personal preference? Did you feel like, okay, Rick and Morty, the new season's coming back, let me start off
Mm.
and see I can get jump started from there?
Yeah. That was probably my most strategic decision I've made so far for the channel. Past that, it was just like, all right, maybe this will do okay. But I figured, I hadn't seen the show. I've been told since it came
Mm.
out that it's a show that I would have enjoyed. So I was like, all right, that should be a pretty good starting point. I know that there's a big fan base for it. I know that people enjoy the episodes and just overall that it's a very popular show. So I figured
Yeah.
if I was going to start somewhere, that would probably be the way to do it. If I had to do it again, though, I probably would have chosen either something less popular or just a different show and
Oh,
maybe had saved Rick and Morty for when I had more experience in how I kind of wanted my reactions to look.
okay. That's really interesting. I have to say, I never spoke to someone who said, kind of, not say you wish you didn't do it, but
Mhm.
if you knew then what you knew now kind of mindset, I would have gone a different route. So that's really
Yeah.
interesting. That's really interesting to hear.
Yeah.
And let's see, on your channel as well, you also did movies starting off with the shows as well, but then you
Mhm.
venture off into separating them.
Yes.
How did you feel like separating them helped your channel out a little bit more when it comes to reacting to a show and to reacting
Mhm.
to a movie?
Yeah, I think So right now, I've only got a handful of movies on that movie channel. It's kind of been on the back burner 'cause I've just been doing more TV series because Has
Yeah.
Been Hotel came out and then Fallout came out and all these different shows just keep coming out. So it's really
Yeah.
hard. But from what I was seeing from the analytics, it wasn't a tremendous amount of people that were clicking onto the movies that were subscribers. A lot of the views were browse views or recommended views and stuff like that. So I thought at that point, because the way the algorithm works, if people don't click on the video that are subscribed to you, then it's just going to get buried. So I figured, if I'm going to do these reactions, I might as well just make a separate channel for it, and then I can kind of balance the time out and carve out time for specific channels to work on that.
Okay, nice. And with movie reactions, what's kind of been like the challenge doing that? Because I with a show, I would imagine 20 to 40 minutes is a little bit more easier to edit down, get it ready for YouTube and everything. But with a movie, you're looking at between, I'm guessing, an hour 45 to
Mhm.
2.5 hours, depending on the movie that you watch. Is the editing process for that a little more difficult and a little more time consuming as well?
Yeah, I would say if you go through and you look at the movies that I have watched, I try really hard to find movies that are under
Mhm.
2 hours long because it does take a lot longer. The process itself isn't much different. Just the process of cutting up the video and everything that pretty much stays the
Yeah.
same. But the extra length, I can edit normally a video. I could usually do maybe about 2 or 3 episodes per day, and then one movie though will take me the entire day. Which, when you add up all the time together, it equals out to both being about an hour and a half or whatever. So
Right.
it kind of comes out the same, but when you're sitting there with one piece of media for an entire day, it feels like it's longer, and it's definitely more taxing.
Okay. All right. And that is also not the other YouTube channel that you have. You have
Mhm.
another one dedicated to streaming and gaming. So you
Yeah,
got three on the books right now. Did you
yeah.
Is there any difficulty trying to manage three at once? And have you found like the right balance to make sure one doesn't take more time away from the other?
Yeah, I think that's definitely where I've been struggling right now, especially with, like I said, trying to get some of those other shows out is
Yeah.
the way that at least I have my YouTube account set up is like I have to go into each specific one to see comments and stuff like that. So if I'm not actively going to them, I just don't see them. So
Right.
the gaming one is supposed to have some edited content on there at some point, but what was easiest for me right now was just to multicast to Twitch and YouTube and just kind of leave those
Mm.
up and then also put clips on there. And then the movie channel, that one, like I said, is kind of on the back burner. I have movies planned to come up. I just need to catch myself up on the main channel. But I'll go through that maybe once a week and just see if there's any new comments or anything. But because those are both still very small channels with not much being uploaded, there's not really much to keep up with at the moment, at least.
Okay. All right. And with being in this community that has been forming with all the reactors, like we said earlier, KL, Mikey Venture, Tiny Shark, Moscow, Relax Relax that we mentioned. How is
Mhm.
it like being in that community so far? And what's kind of been like the best advice that they've given you or you've given them and to help each other grow?
Yeah. It's the if any creator is watching this, my number one suggestion is try to find you a group of friends that can help out because being able to discuss anything under the sun and just have people understand what you're talking about and give pointers or tips or their experience is super helpful.
Hmm.
What's nice about the different groups that I have is that we all have different experiences, even though we're doing very similar content. We all do it differently enough to where we kind of can share, you know, different click through rates or just different view amounts on the same videos or the same concepts and things like that. So, as far as pitching ideas and testing things out with, Patreon or things like that, it's super helpful. I mean, there's probably talks like every other day on what we're up to and what we're trying to do and the effects of it.
Nice. And something about YouTube that I'm seeing now, it's much more collaborative. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of competition because I remember when I first like watching YouTube back in the day, it was I remember watching a lot of the movie commentators, like the
Mhm.
Schmoes, the John Campias, Grace Randolphs of the world, and it was very there was collaboration, but there was a lot of jabbing back and forth, a lot of
Right.
I'm better,
Yeah.
who's better. It was a weird thing. Now I see it, and it's a really cool community of helping each other out. You guys would do collab videos, and like you said, being that community where you guys can help each other out. And how do you feel that YouTube has changed from what it was then to how it is now?
Yeah. I growing up, I loved seeing when other creators would end up on somebody else's channels. I just
Hmm.
always thought it felt organic. I mean, obviously they're doing it to help, their channels and everything,
Hmm.
but it always felt really, really fun to kind of see, two of your favorite creators, regardless of what they were doing on the same channel or just collaborating in some way. So
Right.
I I love my individual creators, but having them all together, it's like a crossover on Nickelodeon or something. So
Right.
it's always fun to see everybody kind of get together and just share their experiences or just make a cool video together.
Nice, nice. And as a content creator doing so much, I have to imagine there might be a certain phase of burnout that may or may not have hit you. If it has, what's kind of like the best methods you've used to kind of um, go against the quote unquote burnout and make sure you're still active, to make sure you still have the love for it, to make sure you're still going and not get like, oh, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is a struggle, especially, when you're in an industry that's all analytics based, which a lot of people
Hmm.
are, but when your entire kind of everything depends on number go up, good, number go down, bad, it definitely is very straining. And what I try to do is step back and think of other things that are going on in the creation world that I'm excited about, or something that is coming up that I'm going to be like a game coming out. I'll try and look forward to that. Or if there's a new series coming out, looking forward to getting that on the channel. So I try to step back and look not at the numbers, which is incredibly difficult to do, and it doesn't always
Right.
work, obviously, but it's super important to just try and look past that and see, are people still showing up? Are they having fun? Are you having fun at least with what you're doing in that moment? And that's kind of what's important. When you step back and you look at the big picture, if things are bad, then that's understandable. It's going to be really hard to avoid that burnout, but you need to look back and kind of look at all the good that's happened as well.
Nice. All right. Nice. And without giving too much away for your channels, for any future projects and videos you got working in, is there any future, games, movies, or shows that you're kind of looking forward to that are coming down the pipeline that you just can't wait to play, can't wait to watch and react and get
Mhm.
started on? What are some of those future videos out there that we should probably be looking forward to?
Yeah. I think I mean, I guess it's kind of giving it away, but not majorly. I want to watch Game of Thrones for the channel. I know that that's a
Ah,
huge one for people. I
yeah.
tried to watch it when it first came out. I got maybe 3 episodes in. I don't remember anything, but I got like 3 episodes in. And I was like, I don't think this is for me, and I just never looked at it again. But I have dove more into fantasy and high fantasy kind of stuff lately,
Mm,
with like
okay.
playing Skyrim for the first time and Dark Souls and stuff. So I've kind
Oh,
of
that'll
gotten
help.
over my like I hate high fantasy kind of phase. So I kind of want to give it another shot and see how that goes. And then as far as games and stuff, I think Life by You is a huge one I'm looking out for, which is the
Okay.
Sims competitor. And then it's not much else, I don't think.
Nice. Now, are we talking Game of Thrones or House of the Dragons? Because there's two
Mhm.
different
Yeah,
things.
two very different things. Yeah, I Game of Thrones. Yeah, I totally
Okay.
just skipped all of it.
That's fair. That's fair. And
Yeah.
that's great. You kind of brought that up. When you're doing shows like that, where obviously there's some shows generated towards a younger audience, like An Owl House, Amphibia, but then you do
Mhm.
shows more towards adults, like Has Been Hotel, and now, like you said, Game of Thrones. Do you try to make sure there's a lot of gaps in between so it doesn't piggyback off the other? For like a kid may watch a
Mhm.
show, then the next video is Game of Thrones, and
Right.
a lot of things can
Yeah.
happen in Game of Thrones. Like, do you try to make sure there's like a buffer in between?
Yeah, so initially when I started the channel, and you'll kind of see it as the channel progresses, which shows I was
Hmm.
doing. And when I had done those the big three Disney shows, Gravity Falls, Amphibia, and Owl House, um, and on top of that, I was doing Rick and Morty, which
Yeah.
is a very different show, and then Avatar, which is kind of like in the middle of them, I would say. I
Yeah.
realized that I was definitely targeting an audience that maybe wasn't going to align in the long term with the types of shows that I watch. So I'm a little bit more careful on which ones I'm doing now, and I'm trying to keep it more in line with what I'm gonna be watching in the future. So more shows like BoJack Horseman or Rick and
Hmm.
Morty. Right now, I'm recording Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. So
Oh,
definitely more, yeah. So so heavier shows. I
yeah.
still want to do those Disney shows because they're amazing, but yeah, I'm definitely more conscious of what kind of audience I'm bringing in with them now, and whether they're gonna watch something else or not.
Right. And with those audience, did you feel like do you feel like maybe if with those more mature shows there'd be more play on the Patreon side? So again, it doesn't get
Mhm.
crossed over with your other shows that you have on your channel.
Yeah. I would say I think if I just had to guess based on comments and likes on Patreon videos specifically, I would say that there is a higher amount of people that is subscribed for Rick and Morty and like BoJack Horseman as
Mm,
opposed to Amphibia and Owl House. I
right.
think part of that though too is that Rick and Morty and BoJack have just gotten more views in general on YouTube, so they've had more exposure to get more people to sign up. So I don't know if there's like a straight correlation, but there is definitely like a noticeable, more people are signing up for the serious shows rather than I don't want to call them less serious shows, but than the other
It,
shows.
yeah, we're all like to have a good time. It's a good time show, you know. It's a
Right,
good time
yeah,
show.
and that's what I'm here for. I mean, I don't care who the target audience of the show was. Like, if it's a good
Right.
show, I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna have fun watching it.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, we're all here for a good time. It may not be
yeah,
a long time. Hopefully, it's a long time. We're
yeah,
here for a good time. Now, we'll kind of wrap it up with this last question with you. I've been enjoying my time with you, Ever. It's been an
yeah. This
absolute
is great.
pleasure. Yeah. But what is one goal you're looking forward to reaching, and not only for your YouTube but for Twitch as well? Because
Mhm,
I imagine you're still doing your Twitch and stream. You're
mhm.
doing great on there. I've been looking on there recently. And there's a lot of fun on there.
Yeah.
What sort of goals you're hoping to reach by the end of the year, if you can?
Yeah. I think I'll start with YouTube, and that's mostly I would just like to get a little bit more consistent with where views at. I think lately, since I have been doing less Disney shows, they have kind of uh, been a little more predictable, which is, good
Mm,
when I'm doing this full time. So I'd really like to keep that trend up and just keeping it a little bit more predictable rather than have these really, really high highs and then these really low lows.
okay.
And then for Twitch, I would like to get in a place where I also see a little bit more consistency. I just had hit partner, which is
Mm,
really exciting. It's something that I've been working towards for 5 years.
nice.
Um,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And then after that, though, most partners they'll see like a little bit of a dip in numbers. So I'd really like to kind of bring that back up to where it was, and then also push past that, and maybe be able to average 100 viewers per hour, and
Okay.
get that by the end of the year.
Nice, nice. I'm 100% guarantee that you will. The work that you do, the effort you put in is amazing. It's always fun to watch. I enjoy myself watching it. I hope everyone who is a fan of yours enjoys this time. I learned a lot about you, how you do your ins and outs. Is a really great time ever. Thank you so much for joining me here
Yeah,
today.
absolutely. Thank you
And
for having me. I appreciate it.
absolutely, of course. And where can people find you if they want to follow you online?
Twitch.tv/SoEverDream or YouTube.com/at Evers Primetime. Uh, and then Discord. I don't know. I mean, I use Twitter, but I don't post
It's
anything meaningful there.
it's there at this point. It's just there for
Yeah,
everybody.
it exists. I have it for just to have it.
Yeah. And you guys can follow me on Twitter at SamMac55, Instagram at SamMacias5, YouTube at Sam Macias. If you guys want to follow me on TikTok, SamMac55 as well. Thank you again to Ever for joining me today. It was a great time. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel to get more interviews like with Ever and other YouTubers out there. A great time as always. Go to his channel as well. Like and subscribe to his. Show him all the love and support. And until next time, you beautiful, lovely, gorgeous individuals. Bye.